Once I transmigrated into a book and became the daughter of the vicious supporting female character. My CEO father's eyes were cold and full of disgust. As expected of her daughter, you only know how to frame others and pretend to be pitiful to win sympathy. Oh, really? When I was in kindergarten, I raised my hand and slapped the chubby kid who tried to bully me until his face was black and blue. When I was in primary school, I hit the boy who tried to lift my skirt with a stick, giving him a concussion. When I was in junior high school, I kicked the little hoodlum who tried to extort me so hard that several of his ribs were broken. When I went to high school, I had a faint smile on my face, but my actions were ruthless. I grabbed the girl who tried to bully me by the head and pressed it against the toilet. My father, who had cleaned up countless messes for me. How about you just frame others and pretend to be pitiful to win sympathy? I transmigrated into the book and became the daughter of the overbearing CEO male lead. Do you think the male lead will dote on me like in the novel, giving me everything I want? I looked up at my father who was looking down at me indifferently. There was a knowing sneer in his eyes. I sneered in my heart, if only I were the daughter of the female lead. But unfortunately, I transmigrated into the daughter of the vicious supporting female character in the original plot. The vicious supporting female character who drugged the male lead and succeeded, and framed the female lead several times. Later, the vicious supporting female character completely enraged the male lead. He sent her to a mental hospital. After the supporting female character went crazy, she jumped off a building and left me, who was only 5 years old. There were a lot of porcelain fragments scattered at my feet. The nanny stammered, "Sir, I was cleaning in the kitchen just now." Then I heard the sound of porcelain breaking in the living room. Maybe the young miss accidentally. She was trying so hard to distance herself. I crossed my arms and said calmly, "It wasn't me, I was in my room. When I came out to get some fruit a few minutes ago, I clearly saw Aunt Monica sweeping the floor in the living room. The nanny was sweeping and then she had to mop the floor. The living room was very big. I didn't believe she could finish sweeping and mopping in just a few minutes." The nanny's face turned pale. Before she could continue to defend herself, my biological father looked at me with the same coldness and disgust as if I were a dead thing. His voice was firm. "Jennifer, you're just like your mother, full of lies. You only know how to frame others and pretend to be pitiful to win sympathy." I was confused. "Are you out of your mind?" I took a deep breath. "Jennifer, stay calm and control your hands. Stay away from those porcelain fragments, otherwise you can't help but want to scratch that face full of mockery with the fragments." I curved my lips and showed the same sneer as him, the kind that a father and daughter would have. "My mother, Mr. James, don't forget that I'm also your biological daughter. As the saying goes, it's the father's fault if the child is not taught. Don't you bear most of the blame." There was a flash of surprise in James' eyes. He seemed to be surprised that I had the guts to refute him. He examined me coldly. "How dare you talk back?" My eyes were also incredibly cold. "So what? I'm talking back. Isn't what I said the truth? I'm also your daughter. Riley is being held in your palm, but I haven't done anything, yet I have a good taste of your unreasonable accusation." James seemed to be listening to a joke. "Jennifer, do you even deserve to be compared with Riley?" If an ordinary child heard what the father said, they would have been filled with grievances and their heart would have ached. But I chuckled, reached out and picked up the vase on the tea table and smashed it in front of him. Crash! The broken porcelain pieces splashed everywhere. One of the pieces flew up and happened to scratch the nanny's face. The nanny covered the wound in disbelief. James' face immediately turned livid. I clapped my hands and directly admitted it. "That's right, I did it. I smashed the porcelain. I threw the vase. I killed the person. And I blew up the earth." James was so angry with my rebelliousness that he raised his big hand and was about to hit me in the face. "James, what are you doing?" A beautiful and delicate woman appeared at the door. Behind her stood a pair of twins. She stepped in and frowned when she saw the mess on the floor. "Nina, you're back." James put down his hand. His face instantly softened. He gave me a cold glance. This unfilial daughter broke the blue and white porcelain and refused to admit it. She even framed the nanny. Just now, she dared to throw the vase right in front of me. "Be careful, don't step on the fragments." When the woman heard this, her frown deepened. Just as she was about to come to me, James immediately stopped her. "Nina, stay away from her, otherwise, I'm afraid she'll hurt you." The woman ignored him, pushed his hand away, squatted down and touched my head. She asked softly, "Jennifer, tell Auntie, did you break the blue and white porcelain?" When I faced the female lead, My attitude was much better than when I faced the male lead. In James' incredulous gaze, my eyes quickly turned red, big teardrops welled up and fell, wetting my face. My voice was choked. Auntie, I didn't do it, I was in my room. Then I heard the sound of porcelain breaking and came out. Then I heard Dad say that I broke it. He said I only know how to lie and frame others. But I really didn't. I really looked like a poor child who was wrongly accused. I poured out all my grievances in front of someone I could trust. He didn't listen to my explanation. He even tried to hit me just now. I glanced at him cautiously. When I met his fierce gaze, I seemed to be startled and shrank back in extreme fear. James didn't expect that I was extremely arrogant in front of him, calling him Mr. James, with an indifferent and distant tone. However, in front of his wife, I changed my face faster than turning a page in a book. I directly handed him a cup of tea with a strong fragrance. James seemed to want to defend himself. The woman said lightly, "It's not your turn to speak." After listening to my accusation, the boy beside the woman said in a clear voice, "Dad, did you check the surveillance?" When the nanny heard the word, surveillance, her lips trembled and she clenched her sleeves tightly. James was furious. "What surveillance are you talking about? She must have done it. Don't be fooled by her pitiful appearance." In fact, the little girl beside the boy tilted her head and said in confusion, "But Dad, you didn't see with your own eyes that Sister Jennifer broke it. The teacher said that without evidence, we can't wrongly accuse others. TSK, even a little girl is more reasonable than my scumbag father." After I transmigrated into this book, I found that the female lead and her two children were not out of character. The female lead was kind, upright, tough and talented. She didn't take out her anger on me just because I was the daughter of the vicious supporting female lead. The two children had extremely high IQs, normal thinking, and were calm and sensible, and the male lead, my father, is a complete psychopath. What on earth does the female lead see in him? His stupid head or his stubborn temper? Under the female lead's insistence, James had to retrieve the surveillance footage of the living room. In the surveillance, the nanny was cleaning in the living room and humming a song. Carelessly, her elbow hit the blue and white porcelain. The blue and white porcelain swayed a few times and fell to the ground and broke. There was a flash of panic on the nanny's face. She looked around and when she saw no one in the living room, she hurried into the kitchen with the broom. At this time, in the surveillance, I also came out because I heard the loud noise and just met James who came back from work. The truth came out. When the nanny saw that the truth was revealed, she quickly knelt down in front of James. Her voice was filled with sobs. "Sir, I was wrong. I was possessed by the devil and wrongly accused the young miss. Please don't fire me." James was so angry that he was fooled by a servant. Although he didn't show it on his face, the veins on the back of his hand popped out. His chest heaved with suppressed anger and his thin lips were cold. "Get out. You don't have to come back from now on." There was a flash of light in the nanny's eyes. Her face was still full of tears. She was about to leave as if, reluctantly. At this time, I spoke up, gathering my courage like a thin and weak little beast. "But, if you break something of the master's, don't you need to compensate?" This porcelain vase was auctioned back by Dad at an auction. It's worth 8 million. When the nanny heard the figure of 8 million, her legs went weak and she fell to the ground. I turned my gaze to James and looked innocent. "Also, Dad, you once said that if you do something wrong, you should have the courage to admit it." I said I didn't do it. "You wrongly accused me. Shouldn't you apologize to me?" James' face turned red with anger. Obviously, he didn't dare to swear at me in front of his wife and two children, so he gave me a warning look. As a CEO, it seems impossible for him to lower his face and apologize to me, a 5-year-old child, even though he was wrong. But I've been unhappy with this scumbag father of mine for a long time. If we had nothing to do with each other and went about our own business, I wouldn't be so angry with him. But he just has to pick on me every time he sees me. Today, he directly convicted me without any evidence. Tell me to accept it and let it go. In your dreams, you big jerk. Auntie, woo. Dad wronged me. Won't he even give me an apology? I cried so sadly and mournfully that tears flowed out of my eyes like a flood breaking through a dam. My appearance is no worse than Riley's. My red eyes, white cheeks, and pink lips slightly parted because of the grievance. When I cry, I'm especially pitiful and heartbreaking. The kind female lead couldn't stand it anymore. She bent down and picked me up, patting my back. "Jennifer, don't cry. It's your dad's fault." James was startled. Nina, looking at his wife's sharp eyes, James knew he couldn't escape the apology. He pursed his lips and said to me, "I'm sorry, Jennifer. Dad was wrong. Dad shouldn't have wrongly accused you." I wiped my tears. No one is perfect. As long as you know you're wrong, Dad, don't wrongly accuse me next time. After the female lead and the two children went back to their room, even though James knew he wrongly accused me, he changed his expression of guilt and sneered, "Jennifer, you really have some tricks. I won this round and was in a very good mood, Mr. James, I'm flattered." James was so angry that he left with a flick of his sleeve. Damn it, James really doesn't like me. My mother, the supporting female character, really hurt him badly. As a result, he preconceivedly put a series of labels on me. Like, White Lotus, scheming bitch, vicious, affected, and pretending to be pitiful to win sympathy. What a psychopath. I'm me, and the vicious supporting female character is the vicious supporting female character. I'm an individual. Why should I be implicated for no reason? As for the nanny, she not only dared to play tricks on him but also made him apologize to me. With James' vindictive character, it's not just about paying compensation for the nanny, but it's none of my business. James thought this matter was over, but he didn't expect it to be the beginning. 2 days later, he showed up in the kindergarten teacher's office with a dark face and gritted his teeth. "Jennifer, I was sitting on a small stool, swinging my legs. The teacher saw that this parent was about to lose his temper and give me a complete childhood at any moment, and hurriedly persuaded him, Jennifer's father, calm down. Hitting a child is useless. It will only arouse the child's rebellious mentality." But James still stared at me fiercely, as if I wasn't his daughter but his enemy. "Jennifer, tell me what you've done." I had an innocent look on my face, as if I didn't know my mistake at all. "It's nothing. I just played a joke on my classmate." Everyone's mouths twitched, and their eyes swept over the several boys with bruised faces, especially the chubby boy at the head, whose face was so swollen that his mother wouldn't recognize him. "You call this playing a joke?" At this moment, the parents of the chubby boy and the other children came. "My dear grandson, how did you get hurt like this? Which bastard without a mother hit you like this?" An old woman said with a sob and hugged the chubby boy. "Grandma, it was Jennifer. Jennifer hit me. Woo woo woo." The chubby boy started crying. The old woman let go of her grandson, turned around and looked around, then fixed her eyes on me, who was about the same age as her grandson but unharmed. With a fierce and angry look on her face, "Are you that little bitch Jennifer?" When the teacher heard such vulgar words, her eyes went dark. It seemed that this matter couldn't be easily resolved. I didn't even glance at her. This kind of person is stubborn, doting on children, and foul-mouthed. Once she decides it's you, no matter how you explain, it's useless and will only bring trouble to yourself. I just looked at James calmly. "This time, what choice will you make? Will you help the outsider and stab me in the heart without asking the reason, just like last time? Or will you stand by my side and clear my name?" "Okay, you little bitch, let me teach you a lesson." The old woman twisted her fat body and spoke obscenely. I was about to be scratched by her sharp nails, just as I was looking for an angle to avoid it. A tall figure blocked her. It was James. His calm voice carried an unhurried aura. "This parent, she's my daughter. It doesn't seem appropriate to take action in front of her parent, does it? Are you her parent?" The old woman sized up James with her triangular eyes and said sharply, "She injured my dear grandson. You look decent, but how do you teach your child? If you don't discipline her, I'll discipline her as an old woman today." James said coldly, "The matter hasn't been clarified yet. If your child made the first move, my daughter was just defending herself. When we're at home with the door closed, he can teach me a lesson however he wants, but this is outside, and in front of so many people. My daughter is labeled with his name, and he still cares about his face. I don't care. Look, this little bitch isn't hurt at all. It's obvious that only my dear grandson was beaten." The old woman was persistent. James was too lazy to argue with her and told the teacher, "Bring out the surveillance footage." The teacher immediately nodded. As it turned out, the surveillance was the most powerful evidence. In the classroom, the chubby boy and the other boys were sneaking around. They came to my seat with a caterpillar and put it in my textbook. In the surveillance, it was clearly shown that I was standing outside the window and witnessed this prank. After class, those little boys were full of anticipation that I would scream in horror when I opened the book and saw the caterpillar. However, I just calmly picked up the caterpillar with a pencil and threw it into the small garbage bag at my feet. What was I thinking at that time? It was just a brat's trick, and I was too lazy to care about it, but I didn't expect them to go further. During class, they moved my chair, and my stationery disappeared from the table, and the milk in the opened box. Damn it. If I don't show my power, you'll think I'm a sick cat. I beat the chubby boy at the head the hardest. His face was as swollen as a pig's head. The truth came out. The old woman couldn't hold her ground and complained, "My dear grandson was just playing a joke on your daughter. This little girl is so vengeful." James looked at the surveillance footage and his face didn't look good. "Jennifer was just playing a joke on them. It's just a minor injury. Why are you so excited?" The old woman sat on the ground and shouted, "I don't care. Your daughter beat my dear grandson like this. You must pay for the medical expenses." James thought for a while and actually nodded. "My daughter hit someone. It's really her fault. I'll pay for it." I looked at him in disbelief. "Pay for what?" "Pay your mother. They were the ones who bullied me first. You not only don't stand up for me, but you also pay the medical expenses for the attacker." Just as the old woman showed a satisfied expression, James smiled ironically. "I can pay for the medical expenses, but since your grandson bullied my daughter first, shouldn't you pay for my daughter's mental damage compensation?" Those who thought the farce was about to end didn't expect there to be a twist. When the old woman heard mental damage compensation, she was immediately unhappy. "What mental damage compensation? I've never heard of it." "Okay, are you trying to extort me?" "Your grandson bullied my daughter first and caused serious psychological and mental harm to my daughter. Don't you think you should compensate?" "But your daughter hit my dear grandson." "But I said I would pay for the medical expenses." My mouth twitched as I watched my CEO father, who handled contracts worth millions of yuan a day, arguing with a mean old woman. Finally, James, the evil capitalist, got impatient. He said, "Your son works at so-and-so place, right? Do you believe that I can fire him with just a phone call?" The old woman immediately shut up. James took me to the car. We were silent all the way. This time, James did stand by my side. But will I accept him because of that? No. Before the parents of the naughty kids came, he was furious and asked me with certainty, "Is this your doing again?" I had a cold expression and still had nothing to say to him. As soon as we got home, I immediately threw myself at the female lead, crying and asking for comfort. The female lead patted my back with heartache and scolded him. "Jennifer was bullied, and you don't even comfort her. Is this how you act as a father?" James looked at me angrily and helplessly. "Hee, Jennifer, you're just like your mother, but the situation is completely the opposite. Your mother pretended to be pitiful in front of me to win sympathy and then framed my wife. And you pretended to be pitiful in front of my wife to win sympathy and then made things difficult for me. You and your mother are really something." I felt that the children of the male and female leads were very different from ordinary children. It's not just that they have high IQs. Even though I'm taking away their mother's attention, they're still calm and have little hostility towards me. You know, at their age, no matter how mature a child is, they still have a strong possessive desire for their mother. Sometimes they even reject their own younger siblings, let alone me, a girl who has asked the female lead for help several times and is their half-sister. I was confused. Are the children of the male and female leads really that special? No, it must be that the female lead has good genes. What does that stupid male lead have to do with it? I thought calmly. In the living room, Edward had a laptop on his lap and his fingers were typing quickly. Lines of code were output from his fingertips and quickly disappeared at the end of the screen. When he saw me staring at him, Edward stopped what he was doing and his childish and clear voice was filled with a bit of doubt. "Do you want to learn? But it's a bit difficult for you. It's best to start with the basics of hacking." "Thanks, I don't need it." I picked up a kindergarten picture book next to me and covered my face. "No. Although I have the soul of an adult, some talents are inborn. Can I compare with him? No, the famous hacker-I in the future. I can't reach him for now, but I was a bit curious." "What are you doing now, Edward?" "I'm fixing the firewall of my dad's company. The other day, the company was attacked by a rival company's system. The technical staff couldn't handle it, so my dad came to me for help." "James, you really know how to." I got along well with the female lead and the two children, but I still couldn't stand James. He mocked me, and I gave him a hard time. He spoke sarcastically to me, and I put the blame on him. He spoke rudely to me, and I directly stole his wife. "I haven't slept with you for a long time. I'll tell you a bedtime story tonight." The three children lined up and looked at the female lead eagerly. "Once upon a time, there was a kingdom. In the kingdom lived a queen. She had a magic mirror. The content of the story wasn't important. What was important was the person telling the story. Since the male lead got together with the female lead, not only me, but also Edward and Riley rarely got to sleep with their mother. James, you're so petty. When the female lead wasn't paying attention, the two children gave me an approving look. Well done. Now, our dad should be sleeping alone and miserably in the study, right? The gentle and pleasant voice lulled us to sleep, and we had a good night. Edward and Riley have very outstanding IQs. James plans to let them skip a grade in primary school. The female lead Nina refused. She didn't want to put so much pressure on the children. She hoped that the children could have a normal childhood, be like ordinary children, taste different stages of life step by step, enjoy the scenery along the way slowly, and have their own thoughts and plans. But James didn't think so. He thought that since his children have such high IQs, they don't need to waste so much time in primary school. Moreover, if they go to school according to the normal class, the disparity in IQ between them and their classmates will make them feel bored. If they are among people with the same IQ, they may make greater progress and be more confident. Nina, why don't we ask the children? James, okay. Although he thought so, the children's wishes were more important. After hearing their parents' words, Edward and Riley turned their eyes to me. I'm about the same age as them, according to the normal school stage. We should be in the same grade. Edward, Sister Jennifer, do you want to skip a grade with us? Riley also looked at me with bright eyes, looking very expectant. I was shocked. James and Nina were shocked too. Before I could speak, James sneered disdainfully, as if he had heard a joke. Her, skipping a grade, it's already good enough that she doesn't hold the class back. If you don't make me unhappy for a day, you'll feel uncomfortable, right? I sighed as if I was helpless. Yeah. Who made my bloodline genes so inferior? There's nothing I can do. IQ is hereditary. James couldn't laugh anymore, and his eyes were on fire. Jennifer, who the hell are you talking about? I picked my ears. Hey, I didn't name anyone. Dad, why are you so eager to take the blame? Seeing that we were about to spray each other again, Nina and the two children were already used to the confrontation and mutual harm between me and James. They pulled us apart skillfully. James, calm down. The child is still young and doesn't understand. Sister Jennifer, that's just the way Dad is. Don't take what he said to heart. After calming us down, Edward asked again. I shook my head. I have my own plan. I don't want to skip a grade for now. James kept blabbering. What do you mean you don't want to? You can't, right? It hurts. It hurts. Nina twisted his ear and gritted her teeth. Can you shut up? You're so old. And you're still arguing with your daughter. Where's your face? Riley thought for a while. Well, I don't want to skip a grade either. Edward agreed. Neither do I. James didn't give up and tried to persuade his two precious children earnestly. Are you really not going to skip a grade? Jennifer can't skip a grade because she doesn't have the IQ for it. You can have access to better learning resources. My fists were clenched. It's you who doesn't have enough IQ. Before I transmigrated into the book, I was directly admitted to a top university in the country and won first prizes in various scholarships and subject competitions. You stupid CEO, James. No matter how much James persuaded them, the two children were determined to study with me and refused to skip a grade. James was so angry. It doesn't matter. If you're angry, I'll be happy. In the blink of an eye, the long passage of time is like the sand tightly clutched in my hand, slipping away soundlessly. Edward, Riley and I started primary school and were in the same class. Edward is a cold and cool guy in front of others. Riley is a soft, cute and sweet girl, probably due to the innate attraction of the protagonists. They quickly attracted a group of little admirers, and I was much more unfortunate. I attracted a pervert. When James appeared in the teacher's office again, he was very calm. He really has already gotten used to it. Bullshit. James' tired eyes and numb soul were roaring. Jennifer, can you stop causing trouble? When Edward and Riley saw that their father's expression was wrong and there was an undercurrent of anger, they immediately stood in front of me. Riley, it's not Sister Jennifer's fault. Edward, that asshole almost lifted up Sister Jennifer's skirt. James gritted his teeth. Jennifer, is this the reason why you gave him a concussion? I readily admitted it. Otherwise, you can't say it's my fault just because I wore a skirt, can you? If my father dares to think things like, if you didn't wear a skirt, why would he lift it up? Or, who the hell told you to wear a skirt? You deserve it. I promise that he won't have a good time in the days to come. What's the difference between this and thoughts like, you dress so flirtatiously, aren't you just trying to seduce men? I know I'm beautiful, with a new skirt. I love beauty and want to show off my beauty. Is there anything wrong with that? But there are always some people who, to satisfy their own selfish desires, want to drag the gorgeous roses that grows freely into the quagmire, but they forget that the rose has thorns. It won't stop until it stabs you bloody. The rose won't sit there and wait to be killed, and neither will I let others bully me. James deeply felt that having a conversation with me was a pit, so he was too lazy to pay attention to me. He turned around. As the saying goes, the first time is unfamiliar, but the second time is familiar. He quickly silenced the other parent and took the three of us home. On the way, I asked as if I didn't care, Mr. James, do you also think it's my fault? James opened the car window and exhaled a puff of smoke. The hazy gray smoke enveloped half of his side face, making him look vicissitudes and decadent. After hearing my words, James sneered, if it's not your fault, whose fault is it? My smile froze, and my eyes darkened. Can't you do it more cleanly? Can't you find a blind spot of the surveillance and then hit him, in full view of everyone? You can't even deny it. Do you know what I was doing when your head teacher called? I was presiding over a meeting. James glared at me resentfully. Tomorrow, no, tonight, believe it or not, everyone in my company will know that my daughter gave someone a concussion and then the teacher called the parents. I was speechless. Edward and Riley were also speechless. James laughed through gritted teeth. His face contorted. Your mother is really good at it. She's taking revenge on me in this way. Fine, I accept this reason, but I'll still dare to do it next time. I've realized how deep this asshole Father James' prejudice against me is. No, he's always been like this to me, when I was in kindergarten. I won a lot of little red flowers and certificates. James didn't care at all. The little red flowers and certificates in kindergarten can be easily obtained. When I was in primary school, my grades were always tied for first place with Edward and Riley. James disdained. It's just 1 + 1 in basic arithmetic. Who can't do it? When I was in junior high school, I surpassed a group of high school students and won the first prize in the National Middle School Physics Olympiad. James sneered indifferently. It's just good luck. In a blink of an eye, he was full of pride and relief when looking at Edward and Riley, who respectively won the first prize in the National Youth Informatics Olympiad and the National Middle School Mathematics Olympiad. You are indeed my children. You're awesome. Dad is proud of you. I was speechless. Edward, Riley and Nina were also speechless. I don't want such a double-standard father. Going to live in the school dormitory when I was in junior high school was a great blessing for me. It means that I don't have to see James every day. According to reason, a CEO like James, who is busy with a lot of work, should be in his CEO office every day, working himself to the bone. But now, he gets off work at 5 o'clock every afternoon, goes home, hugs Nina and starts kissing her. Then, like an ordinary family, we have a meal together. And he interacts with the children to cultivate feelings. Haha, I'm not included. In the evening, he goes back to the room with Nina. Think about it. This guy is living a life better than a fairy. His assistant said that before James married Nina, James was really a workaholic. His schedule was as full as that of a celebrity. He knew exactly what to do at every moment, showing no emotion like a machine. And he also had a stomach problem that had accumulated over the years. The assistant is very happy now. The president's stomach problem is cured, and he's not as cold as before. In short, he's much more human now. His humanity is often built on my pain. One evening, Edward, Riley, and I were on our way home. When we passed a small path, a few hooligans stopped us. We turned around and found that we were also blocked by hooligans behind us. The leader of the hooligans had a skull necklace around his neck and a scorpion tattoo on his exposed arm. He looked like someone not to be trifled with. He sized us up, squinting his eyes, as if weighing whether the three of us were fat enough. Then a hooligan stepped forward and drawled, "Little classmates, give us some money to buy a pack of cigarettes." I silently turned on the recording on my phone. "What did you say?" Another hooligan was impatient. "Are you deaf? I told you to hand over the money." Edward's eyebrows and eyes darkened, and a trace of hostility flashed across his pretty and cold face. He stood in front of Riley and me. The veins on the back of his hand were showing, and it was obvious that he was trying his best to hold back. But I know that Edward is not the type of school bully who gangs up with others and beats up whoever he doesn't like. He comes from a noble background. is rational and indifferent, and no one in school dares to provoke him, even if someone makes him unhappy. He will take revenge quietly behind the scenes and leave no trace afterwards. Due to his personality and experience, he basically never fights with others, so unfortunately, he has no actual combat experience. So, it's my turn now, Edward calmly said. We can give you the money, but you have to let us go. The leader of the hooligans hooked the corners of his mouth and sneered, naturally, although he said so. His cloudy eyes were staring straight at Riley and me. Riley didn't look flustered, but the way she was clutching her sleeves revealed her inner nervousness. When Edward's face darkened and he almost couldn't hold back his anger, I smiled sarcastically and walked out from behind him. What if we don't give it to you? The leader of the hooligans was so angry that he laughed. Don't give it. It seems you don't want to leave. Brothers, go for it. Just as the hooligans were about to approach us, Edward, I threw my school bag and phone to him, my eyes shining with eagerness. Protect Riley. Am I afraid? No, I'm almost dying of excitement. My fingers are trembling with excitement. These are ready-made punching bags. Who the hell doesn't love that? For more than 10 years, I've been so angry with that asshole father at home that I have nowhere to vent my anger. I'm almost getting internal injuries from holding it in. Look, here comes the punching bag. What's more, I recorded the conversation, so I'm in the right. Ha ha ha, thank you for coming to us on your own. Be careful, James warned. I rushed out like the wind, kicked a skinny hooligan to the ground, and then punched another person in the face. A hooligan angrily pounced on me. I dodged and threw him over my back, making him crash into another person. In the chaos, I found a breakthrough, jumped onto the wall for leverage, made a quick turn, and kicked the leader of the hooligans hard in the chest. Click, the sad sound of bones breaking rang out. It was so exhilarating. I haven't let loose like this for a long time, so even though Edward, Riley, and I were sitting in the police station waiting for the parents to come and pick us up, I was still in high spirits and humming a song happily. These hooligans have a record in the police station for extorting others, but because the amount was not large and the circumstances were not serious, they were released after being detained for a few days. The police were also really annoyed, until they ran into me. The tough nut to crack. This might be the first time that a hooligan who tried to extort others ended up in the hospital instead of the police station. I said righteously, Uncle Policeman, we were acting in self-defense. When James came to the police station, he didn't want to talk. He was physically and mentally exhausted but calm. Tell me, Jennifer, what did you do again? I said. Some hooligans tried to extort the three of us, and then I sent them to the hospital. I shook my phone, and a clear recording came out. What did you say? Are you deaf? I told you to hand over the money. We can give you the money, but you have to let us go. Naturally, what if we don't give it to you? Don't give it. It seems you don't want to leave. Brothers, go for it. Edward, protect Riley. Then there were sounds of people falling and punches hitting the flesh. I blinked and spread my hands. I knew my expression was innocent and harmless. The one who provoked first is the one at fault, and they were the ones who started the fight. Riley stuck her head out and said softly, what Sister Jennifer said is true. They didn't just want money, they also wanted, Edward said coldly. They were all staring straight at Sister Jennifer and Riley. Everyone knew what those hooligans wanted to do from what he left unsaid, after hearing what the two children said. A trace of coldness flashed across James' eyebrows and eyes. He waved his hand and told his assistant to deal with the matter and take us home. How badly did you beat them? Edward asked in a low voice. I was biting a lollipop. Don't worry, I know my limits. At most, a few broken ribs and some knocked out teeth. Riley's eyes sparkled with admiration. Sister Jennifer is so amazing. Edward let out a long breath, and his expression became firm. I hadn't seen him much after school for several days. When I asked Riley, I found out that Edward had asked James to find a fighting coach for him, and he went to practice every day after school. It seems that the incident with the hooligans hit him. Edward, who has been ace since childhood, doesn't allow himself to have such a big weakness that he can't protect his own relatives. TSK, he's teachable. Before I transmigrated into this book, I was the child that other parents always praised. I skipped 2 grades in primary school and 1 grade in junior high school. In the first year of senior high school, I won a gold medal in the International Physics Olympiad and successfully got a recommendation to University Q, one of the top universities in the country. At that time, I had the same idea as James. I didn't want to waste time. After receiving the offer from the university, I naturally went to college. And then I worked myself to the bone in the academic world until I transmigrated into this novel. It's so damn tiring. In this life, I won't skip grades anymore. I want to enjoy this leisure time. In high school, Riley, Edward, and I were still in the same school, but we weren't in the same class. They were in the top class, while I was in an ordinary class, because I had a fever during the senior high school entrance examination. I was in a daze and fell asleep in the math exam. When I woke up, there were only 10 minutes left. The high fever, nervousness, and the rapid operation of my brain almost burned out my CPU. When I read the questions, the answers just came to my mind. The fill-in-the-blank questions were okay, but for the big questions, I don't have 8 claws. Thank you. I wrote down the final answers, skipping most of the steps. As a result, I lost nearly half of the points in math. The scores of other subjects were quite ideal, but math dragged down my overall score. So even though my total score was far above the average score of that high school, I still couldn't reach the admission score of the top class. I didn't care too much about it. High school was just a stepping stone for me. In my previous life, I went to college not long after starting senior high school. But in my impression, high school should be pure, full of passion, and everyone should be striving for their ideals. Before I was surrounded by several girls in the toilet, I really thought so. What's the situation now? Before they took action, I was quite reasonable. May I ask what you want from me? A girl with pierced ears looked at me viciously and said to the girl who looked pretty standard as the leader, Linda, it's her, she's shamelessly seducing Edward. Another girl also pointed at me. I saw it too, the top student Edward, who ignores everyone except his sister on the basketball court, actually took the water she handed to him. She even dared to pull the hand of the top student Edward, and Edward didn't shake her hand off. I knew the girl named Linda. She was in our class. The girl with such a nice name listened to her little followers. The flames of jealousy burned in her eyes, but they quickly went out. She sneered, Jennifer, do you really think that just because you also have the surname James, Edward will accept you? I finally understood. They regarded me as a love rival. Edward is my younger brother. What could I have with him? I just wanted to keep a low profile and didn't want to reveal our relationship. Is that not okay? I neither admitted nor denied it. Seeing that their attitude was far from friendly, my tone turned cold. What's the relationship between Edward and me? It's none of your business. Linda gave me a contemptuous look, raised her hand, and a stream of vicious words came out of her mouth. Strip off her clothes and take photos of her. Jennifer has such a flirtatious face. Why don't we press her head into the toilet and wash her? Then she won't be able to seduce people everywhere. One of the girls beside her giggled maliciously. Use the dirty mop to wash her lustful body. I listened to their suggestions expressionlessly. So, this is campus bullying. But do they know that since I was a child, it's always me who beats others unilaterally? 5 minutes later, the toilet was in a mess. I had a faint smile on my face, but my actions were ruthless. I pressed the button of the toilet, and the water gushed out. I grabbed the head of the girl who suggested washing my face in the toilet and pressed it against the toilet. My voice was gentle, but it was like the whisper of a devil. You dare to bully me? Don't you even find out who I am? The girl's body trembled with fear. I was wrong. Woo woo, glug glug. I didn't know what I thought of, and I smiled softly. Do you know how many ribs I broke of the hooligans who tried to extort me last time and how long they lay in the hospital? I suddenly pulled up her head. Her eyes looking at me were filled with extreme panic and fear. Her face was wet, and it was hard to tell whether it was tears or toilet water. Her hair stuck to the side of her face. Her voice was full of sobs. Please let me go. I know I was wrong. I let go of her in disgust. Linda was thrown to the ground in a mess by me. And she hit her forehead. She shrieked, My dad is the dean. He won't let you off. I was still smiling. Are you trying to compare fathers? Fine. My dad is James, my younger brother is Edward, and my younger sister is Riley. It didn't matter if they knew now, looking at her wide eyes full of horror and disbelief. Impossible. I've never heard that Brother E has an elder sister. As for James, it was a class that she could never reach in her whole life. I took out a clean tissue from my pocket and slowly dried my hands. Believe it or not, I sincerely suggest that you'd better find out my family background before you go and complain. A few days after this incident, everything was calm. It's just that those girls looked at me with nervousness and fear unconsciously. TSK, they really can't stand being scared. They didn't come to me, but my biological father came to me first. I raised my eyebrows. Mr. James, you know about this again, this time. I didn't let the teacher invite you to the office for tea. James saw that I wasn't serious no matter how old I was, and the veins on his forehead were throbbing. Jennifer, here, I replied lazily. Sometimes I really wish you were like your mother, framing others behind their backs, pretending to be pitiful to win sympathy, and manipulating everyone behind the scenes. I was surprised. Don't you hate it the most when I'm like my mother, James? I'm tired. James was tired both physically and mentally. Your mother always managed to avoid being caught, while you always leave a mess for me to clean up. Do you think the matter of you beating your classmates will just be ignored? It was me who asked the principal to suppress this matter the other day. Otherwise, you would be labeled as a bully. It was them who started the trouble. I know, but in the eyes of the classmates, you are unharmed, and you are the bully. Thank you, I'm an anti-bully. James had nothing to say to me. On the day I turned 18 and became an adult, James handed me a folder. I opened it in confusion, and my pupils shrank. It was 13% of the shares of the James family group. Mr. James, I closed the folder and looked puzzled. Are you going to transfer the shares to me? My birth wasn't glorious at all. Edward and Riley are the legitimate heirs. I'm not interested in power. Even though I'm kind of slacking off in this life, I'm more interested in academic research. If I didn't really love it, I wouldn't have worked myself to the bone for it in my previous life. So, the shares of the James family group really have no attraction for me. Do they all agree? I asked. James' tone wasn't very good. Otherwise, my expression was a bit complicated. In terms of shares, President James has the final say. I don't hate this father, nor do I love him, since I was a child. He has never stopped sarcastic remarks towards me. Every time, I fought back and made him furious. However, all of this is based on the fact that I have the soul of an adult. What if I were really just a child? At the age of 5, when I needed my parents the most, I was abandoned by my biological mother and hated by my biological father, facing the continuous malice from the outside world. What kind of person would this weak and helpless girl grow up to be? I can't even imagine. Even though he gave me such important shares now, I was still almost indifferent. Before I became an adult, I defined him as my guardian, that's all. Now that I'm an adult, his identity as my guardian is invalid. So, I refused. James' eyes were calm, as if he had expected this result. I said indifferently, you've never liked me, you don't have to force yourself. James didn't refute, but you are still my daughter. I chuckled, it's just a cursed relationship, Mr. James doesn't need to take it to heart. There's no way that my father would wake up one day, cry bitterly, and regret what he did to his daughter. That would never happen to James. He is the male lead, arrogant, outstanding, and especially privileged person, but because of a moment of carelessness, he was framed by my mother. There were so many separations and reconciliations between him and the female lead, and my mother was involved in all of them. He loves the female lead deeply and also dotes on Edward and Riley. Therefore, his dislike for me is real, his indifference towards me is real, his disgust for me is also real. Over the years, it has never changed. Even though I'm almost as excellent as Edward and Riley, I don't have the feeling of admiring and being attached to him either. We are destined to be on opposite ends of the rope of fate. We are destined to be the most familiar strangers in this life. Edward and Riley weren't surprised that I refused James' shares. After successfully entering college, Edward and Riley both found their significant others. People like the protagonists always meet another protagonist. I'm sincerely happy for them. I'm still alone. Many excellent boys courted me during this period, but I politely declined them all. I'm immersed in the things I'm interested in and dedicated to academic research. Without family or a man, I can still live a good life, one day. When I was relaxing and reading a magazine, I saw such a sentence. I live to please myself, not to be trapped by others. Yeah, life is just a few decades. Don't live in the eyes of others or be trapped in their gossip. We are independent individuals. We are shining stars. We should live for ourselves. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you.